On numbers 15 through 17, we're describing the transformation that's occurring from the function f of x to the function g of x. And so the f of x is the parent function, and those are given for you on the graph. The new function, the g of x, is the one up by the problem number. The words that you're going to use are either translated up or down, reflection, stretched, shrunk or compressed, rotated upward, or rotated downward. So the very first thing you want to do is make sure that you understand you're starting with the absolute value of x and you're transforming to 5 times the absolute value of x. So the only change between this function and this function is the number in front. Now the number in front of the absolute value of x is an understood 1, and so our number changed from a 1 to a 5. Now that number change means something different for linear functions than it does for the other three. So remember, linear is when you just have an x. All the other three are the absolute value, your quadratic, and your exponential. Okay, so these are the others. If you have a number change in your linear, so let's say you had an x and then the next time you had 5x. Okay, so that changed from a 1 to a 5. For a linear, we call that a rotation. If the number increased like this one did, it would be a rotation up. But for the other three, when that number changes like ours did from a 1 to a 5, or if you had x squared and it changed to 5x squared, or 2 to the x and it changed to 5 times 2 to the x, remember that number in front of the 2 to the x is a 1. All of these changes, the numbers changing from 1 to 5, is called a stretch. When that number gets bigger, it's a stretch. If it gets smaller, it's called a shrink. So in this case, the 1 became a 5, so we call that a stretch. On number 16, our parent function was x squared, and our new function is x squared plus 4. So the only difference is this plus 4 at the end. Now remember that plus 4 is what moves the function up or down. So plus 4 would move it up so that the vertex is not at 0 anymore. It would be up at 4. So a plus or a minus at the end means you have a translation. If it's addition, it's translated up. If it was subtraction, it would be translated down. And then on number 17, our original function is the exponential 2 to the x, and our new one is negative 2 to the x. So the only thing that changed is this negative sign in front. The negative sign in front means you had a reflection, and so instead of increasing, that one would be going downhill, which would be decreasing. So we call that a reflection. So remember, you have notes that show you that the negative in front of the function means a reflection. A number change means something different for linear. It means a rotation. If it got bigger, it rotated up. If it got smaller, it rotated down. And for the other three, we call it a stretch if it went up, and a shrink if it went down. And remember, shrink will be a fraction, less than 1. And then you have your function that you started with. And then if you have plus or minus a number at the end, then that means a translation. If it's addition, it's translated up. If it's subtraction, it's translated down.